Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're getting ready to take on the Microsoft 365 Fundamentals MS-900 exam, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to break down all the official material into a super focused guide on the things you absolutely positively have to know to pass. So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through the M365 Cloud Foundation, check out the key apps and services, dive deep into security and compliance, then identity and access, and we'll wrap it all up with pricing and support. This lines up perfectly with the exam domains, so let's get right to it. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the M365 Cloud Foundation. You really can't get M365 until you understand that fundamental shift from running your own servers to moving into the cloud. Okay, one of the first things you absolutely have to nail for the exam is this idea called the shared responsibility model. It's all about who's responsible for what. With a software as a service or SaaS platform like M365, Microsoft handles all the heavy lifting, the servers, the networking, all that. But, and this is the key part, securing your data, your accounts, and the devices people use, that's on you.
Here's a great way to picture it. If you're on premises, you own the whole stack, from the air conditioning in the server room all the way up to the data itself. But in the cloud, Microsoft takes care of that physical infrastructure. And the real beauty here is that it frees you up to focus on what actually matters to your business, your information, your devices, and your people. It's a huge shift from managing hardware to managing access. Let's move on to Section 2, Key Apps and Services. So now we're going to look at the actual tools that your people will be using day in and day out to get their work done. You probably know the classics, right? Word, Excel, PowerPoint, of course. But the exam expects you to know about the integrated work management tools too. That means things like Project, for those really big, complex jobs, and Planner, which is this great visual tool for managing team tasks. And a key thing to remember is that all these apps are evergreen. They're constantly being updated across every device a user has. Now, behind all those apps are these powerhouse online services. Exchange Online is the engine for all your email and calendars. SharePoint Online is the backbone for teamwork, for building sites and storing files. And you'll also need to know about some of the newer services like Microsoft Viva, which is all about the employee experience, and Microsoft Stream for all your internal video content. They all work together to connect everything and everyone.
So where do your users find all this stuff? Right here. This portal is their central hub, their one-stop shop. They can jump into the web versions of Outlook or Teams, manage their account details, and even install the desktop apps. The whole idea of bringing everything together into one simple, accessible place is a huge selling point of M365.
So I mentioned that M365 is evergreen, right? Well, this is how Microsoft manages that. It's called the Modern Lifecycle Policy, and it's a huge topic for the exam. Features start in a small, limited private preview. Then they move to a public preview where anyone can try them out. When they're finally ready for prime time, they hit General Availability, or GA. That means they're fully supported. And here's a detail you need to remember. Once a paid feature is GA, Microsoft guarantees at least 12 months of support before they can retire it. That gives businesses predictability.
Okay, now for Section 3. Pay close attention here because security and compliance is a massive part of the MS-900 exam. This is all about how you protect your organization's stuff now that the old idea of a secure network wall is basically gone. The main security philosophy you need to get is defense in depth. And honestly, the onion analogy is perfect. It's not about having one magic bullet for security, it's about having multiple overlapping layers of protection. So if one layer gets breached, there's another one right behind it to stop an attack. These layers cover everything from the physical security of the data center to the security of the data itself. You have to understand the zero trust model for the exam. It is the future of security. The old way was trust but verify. The new rule? Never trust, always verify. It completely flips the script. It starts with the assumption that a breach is not just possible, but inevitable. So every single time someone or something tries to access your resources, it's treated as hostile until it proves otherwise.
So, how do you do zero trust? It boils down to these 3 core principles. First, verify explicitly. That means you look at every signal you can get.
who the user is, where they are, is their device healthy, what service are they trying to access before you let them in. Second, use least privilege access. This is huge. You give people just enough access to do their jobs and nothing more. No more giving everyone the keys to the entire kingdom. And third, assume breach. This means you design your network as if the bad guys are already inside. You segment access and minimize the blast radius, so if one area is compromised, the attackers can't move sideways and take over everything.
Okay, compliance can get tricky, but for the exam, you've got to be crystal clear on the difference between these three concepts. Data residency is the easy one. It's just the physical, geographic location where your data is stored. Is it in a data center in the US or one in Germany? That's residency. Now, data sovereignty is the legal piece. It means your data is subject to the laws of the country where it resides. So if your data is in Germany, it's subject to German and EU laws like GDPR. Finally, data privacy is all about how Microsoft protects personal data to earn and keep user trust. They're all connected, but they are not the same thing.
So how do you actually prove that Microsoft is compliant? Where's the paperwork? That's where the Service Trust Portal comes in. You need to know what this is. It's the public-facing website where Microsoft puts all its audit reports and compliance documents. If your boss asks for proof that M365 meets a standard, like ISO 27001, this portal is where you go to get it.
All right, Section 4, Identity and Access. This flows right from our security talk because in today's world where people work from anywhere, a person with identity is the new security perimeter. So this whole section is about how we manage and protect that identity.
This is one of the most common trip-ups on the exam, the difference between the two A's. Let's make it super simple. Authentication is proving you are who you say you are. Think of it as showing your ID at the front door. You use a password, a fingerprint, whatever. It's the who are you check. Authorization is what happens after you're in. It's what you're allowed to do. Can you read a file? Can you delete a user? That's authorization. You've got to know the difference.
A password by itself just doesn't cut it anymore. That's where multi-factor authentication, or MFA, comes in. You should consider this an absolute must-have for modern security. The whole idea is to require at least two different forms of proof. It has to come from different categories. Something you know, like a password, something you have, like your phone, or something you are, like your fingerprint. When you combine those, it becomes way harder for a bad guy to get in, even if they've managed to steal a password.
And here's what it looks like from the admin side of things. See, MFA isn't just a concept, it's a real service you can configure. Right from this portal, you can turn on different verification options for your users, like getting a phone call, a text message with a code, or a simple pop-up on their Authenticator app. It's flexible, and knowing that is important.
Okay, we are in the home stretch. Our final section, Section 5, is all about the practical stuff, how you actually buy M365, and where you go for help when things go wrong. Both are key topics for the exam.
The exam will expect you to know the three main ways organizations can license Microsoft 365. First is direct. You just go to the Microsoft website with a credit card, easy. Second is through a cloud solution provider, or CSP. This is a Microsoft partner who can sell you the license, but they often bundle it with their own support and services. And third is the enterprise agreement, or EA. This is for the big guys, usually organizations with 500 or more users, and it's a long-term commitment.
You are definitely going to see questions that test whether you know the difference between plans. Now, you don't need to memorize every single feature of every single plan, but you do need to know the key differentiators. Look here. MFA is built into M365 Business, but it wasn't in the older Office 365 plan. And if you want really powerful tools, like custom conditional access policies, you need to step up to a plan like Azure AD Premium P1. Knowing those big-ticket differences is vital.
And finally, what do you do when you need help? You've got to know your support options. Microsoft offers a whole spectrum. You've got free community forums and handy tools, all the way up to Fast Track, which helps with onboarding, and Premier support for the highest level of service. And don't forget, if you bought your license through a CSP partner, they are usually your first call for support.
And there you have it. We've walked through the core foundations, the apps, the critical security and identity pieces, and the practical side of licensing and support. Passing the MS-900 shows you've got this down. But really, that's just the beginning.
M365 isn't just a software package, it's a platform for a whole new way of working that's more collaborative and way more secure. So the real question, as you wrap up your studying, is this: how are you going to use it to build the future for your organization? Good luck on your exam!